influencer, what actually got you energized about poetry and trying to express yourself through that type of art?
Well, I've always written, but my family went through this whole series of like my grandmother died, and after my grandmother died, like 3 of my aunts, one of my uncles, and everybody kept asking me because I talk so much. I was always a big talker.
Right.
They was like, do you want to talk at the funeral? And when I wrote down what I wanted to say about my grandmother, it kind of just came as a poem.
Okay.
And then after that, they started asking me to write poems for the funerals. And then it just progressed from there into me writing whenever like something was bothering me or I just had something on my mind, and it wasn't even that good. Really. But
you were just expressing yourself.
I was just expressing myself. Then I met a group, and their name was, I think it was Poetic or something.
Okay.
And they were on like the outskirts of the poetry scene or whatever. I didn't know anything about poetry. So they invited me into their group. So I started doing the poetry with them.
Okay.
Then I decided to branch out and meet other poets.
So how old were you when you were going through this experience of family members dying? Not how old you are now, but when you started.
I was about, well,
that was
in my 20s.
Okay, so.
That was in my 20s, but I didn't start going to the open mics until I was like 31, 32.
Okay, so you what, 32, 33 now?
38.
Yeah. Oh, boy, I mean,
38
you told it. So, I mean, that seemed to be like a lot of different things going on in your life. So you had stories to actually tell and some true emotion.
Right.
So what's the process like? I mean, does everybody have to have those type of life-changing experiences?
Definitely not. I mean, if you want to write, you just write. With me, sometimes it's just a line.
Okay.
And I just write down a line and come back later. But sometimes it'll be 2 or 3 stanzas and I'll come back later. I surround myself with a lot of different poets, artists. We inspire each other. I go to a poetry set. It'll be something that inspires me there. Or we even be like, I'm writing about blah blah blah. You want to get on?
Okay.
You know, so
do a lot of poets joining together to, you know, come up with good work, whether it's individual or group effort.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, where are you from?
Chicago.
Now, born and raised? How is the Chicago poetry scene?
Well, right
What's it
now,
like?
I think the scene all over the country is kind of just dry. You know, I hate it's just getting commercialized or whatever, you know, and a lot of people see Def Poetry Jam or Lyric Cafe and they think that this is a cool thing and they think they're going to get, you know, millions, they're going to be on TV, they start on TV. And
so they're doing it for the wrong reason.
Right, it's like a fad. But I do think that there are a number of artists and poets that are committed to keeping the art organic and writing good work, because there's a lot of bad work out there.
Okay.
And that's the scary part, because if you don't even like poetry and you go to a poetry set and all you hear is a bunch of bad poetry, you're like, I don't like poetry. So I knew I didn't.
Right.
But maybe if you got a chance to hear some really good poetry, some well-written work, maybe that might inspire you to come back or tell somebody, you know. It's just like opening up a whole, we don't want the arts to die.
Right.
The arts are so important to us, especially black people.
Okay.
We got to express ourselves. You know?
Now, you said that poetry around the country is not as good as maybe in Chicago.
Well, no, I'm not going to say that. It's just like, you know, it's home.
Right.
You know,
so you're biased.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So where have you been throughout the country where you feel that maybe, you know, they need to step their game up?
I'm not going to say that because I'm not going to get no gigs.
That's smart.
For me,
right.
But, you know, I've gone other places and I've been touched by poets all over the country. And one of the best poets I know is from out of Newark. Actually, he lives in Maryland now. Salam AC, another brother, 13 of Nazareth. I met him on the East Coast. Really, really humble brothers. Okay. Really doing their art. I'd rather not talk about the ones that's not.
Okay.
No.
Now, you said that if you are not really into poetry or haven't had that good experience, you may not be, you'll be turned off by it.
Right.
Now, in rap or hip hop, there are the true MCs who a lot of people will say are poets, like a Jay-Z or Biggie or Tupac or Talib Kweli or Mos Def.
Yeah.
But there are other rappers who can make a lot of money, sell a lot of records, who are just plain rappers. Now, is there a big difference like that in poetry as well, where you can tell they're not as good, but they're just doing it to maybe try and make some money or write a book or whatever?
Or, you know, I think the problem comes in that everybody is just not meant to do everything.
Right.
And if you want to write a poem and if something was on your heart and you just want to share it with the world, share it. But if you want to really do it, if you really want to be a spoken word artist, you really want to get good, you have to try.
Okay.
You know, I mean, even if you got raw talent is not enough. You have to work at it. Even like singers have to practice their singing. But you have to study. You have to read. You know, you have to build up your vocabulary. It's a lot of things that you have to do. It's not just as simple as picking up a pen and a paper and writing. And then if you want to be a spoken word artist, you got to work on your stage presence.
Okay.
You know, it's all types of things.
Presentation.
Right,
Okay.
definitely.
What about being in front of the camera? Because you seem like you're a natural at being in front of the camera.
Well, you know, I did a whole DVD. You know, I did my DVD is like 10 vignettes, is that how you pronounce it?
Right, vignettes?
Yes.
Okay, that's like a television word.
Right. So it's like, I spent a whole year doing this whole DVD project, Natural
Well, talk to us about that.
Well, basically, I had done my first DVD was called Growing Pains.
Okay.
And it was just like live clips of me performing. So I wanted to step up my game, raise the bar, do something different. So I got in touch with this brother named David Weathersby. He's out of Subverse Studios.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I just want to do something different.
Okay.
And so he said, well, when I moved here, he moved here from Seattle. When he got introduced to the poetry scene, he was like, wow, because he had never seen poetry like this.
So he saw the right type of poetry too.
Yeah.
Okay.
He saw some of the greats like Kahari B and Triple Black and Deana Dean. And he was like, he had this idea in his mind all along that he wanted to do with the poet. He just had never really addressed it, never really, introduced it to anybody. So he was like, what I want to do is like kind of do music videos where we have people acting out the parts, and then you're like this, force in the room that, it's a few of them that I'm like sitting right there in the front, I'm standing up, but mostly it's like other people acting out the parts and you just see me performing. Oh,
okay. Now what or I should say who has influenced you? Because when I think poetry, who comes to my mind automatically is Maya Angelou.
Oh, yeah.
A poet and then an author. Who has influenced you in poetry? Because I can go back and say, as far as hip hop, I can name off a list of people because hip hop is just so big.
Right.
In poetry, who has influenced you?
Oh, it's a lot of people. Mama Brenda, you'll see her tonight. Mama Brenda Matthews, she's like the mother of the poetry scene in Chicago. Of course, Yaya. I'm a part of a group. I'm all male. I'm the only female in the group of guys.
Okay.
The Enigma Poets. So that's HB, The Alias, Absolute, Context, and then I'm in another group of all women, which is me and my sister.
Okay.
And right now we're doing Soul Swagger Productions. Me and Celeste, another young sister named K Love. Actually, I kind of raised her up in the poetry, but she inspires me as well.
So you're a mentor as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to though. I mean, for real, I'm kicking and screaming, but I guess you gotta do what you gotta do.
You have to do what you have to do. You have to give back a little
Triple
bit.
Black, one of my favorite poets, for non-poetry, Chicago. I mean, Kahari B, Deana Dean. I mean, I can go on and on and on. It's just so many poets that have touched me.
Okay. At the end of the day, when you're done with poetry, what would you have liked to have accomplished? Well,
I want to, first of all, always represent myself as who I am. This is me.
Okay.
Raw. It might not be pretty all the time, but this is me. I want to always have integrity. I want to always be true to my art form and present good work.
Okay.
And my main thing is I want to give somebody a new perspective. Maybe you wouldn't have thought of it this way if I hadn't told you.
Right.
And maybe if I hadn't made it sound good, you still wouldn't listen. So that's the main thing that I really want to do. Is just, open up people's minds.
Okay. Now, once people are introduced to this poetry thing and introduced to you, how can they get in touch with you? Do you have a MySpace page?
Yeah, MySpace is Deana, DEANA _ DEAN.
Ms. Deana Dean.
Deana Dean.
Thank you for being on Word for Word.
You.
You're welcome.